Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about the books that I'm looking to read during the month of November. Starting this month and hopefully into next year, I am looking to read just about as many books as I take in. I have been taking in more books, not like a crazy amount, but more than usual. I would probably take in about 20 or so books like every quarter or so, and now it seems that I'm taking in like 10-ish books every month. There's nothing wrong with buying books. I love buying books. I thrift most of them anyway, secondhand, but that means that my shelves do get cluttered more and I want to read through them more. I used to read about 10 to 15 a month. This year it's been like three ish about, which is not bad because I'm still reading good stuff, just not as much as I want to. Because in October I took in about 10 books. This November I'm looking to read just about that amount, around that number, anyways. So I do have a stack of books. It is an optimistic stack, but I'm also the type of reader that I do like to mood read, but I do need guidance. I'm not quite type A or B. I guess I'm somewhere in the middle where I will grab myself a pile of books that I'm kind of looking at for the month and then choose from within there depending on what I feel. This month I do feel like reading sequels, so there is quite a few sequels in this stack. Let's start with the first book that I'm going to read like as soon as I finish filming this, and that is Booked for Murder by PJ Nelson. I picked this up from my library just based on cover and like vibes alone. It seems like a cozy mystery. That's kind of what it's telling me, which is odd. I'm usually not in the mood for a cozy mystery. It's like the cozy subgenre that gives me the most troubles, but I just really felt like it. Probably because of the season. It's November. We just finished Halloween, and I usually bake a lot in these later months. And I like to make, like soups. Like I eat a lot of soup. I don't know. I'm just feeling in the cozy mood, and this has a very standard plot that you've probably seen in cozies. We have a young woman who I think went to a big city and she is given a bookstore in her aunt's will, and in order to like actually take in whatever she's receiving from her aunt's will, like she has to like stay in this town for about a year or like manage this bookstore, but someone dies or there's threats on her life, something like that. Your standard like cozy premise. I don't know, I'm just really in the mood for a cozy, so I'm going to start this one today. I have like a couple sequels here, like I said. One series that I for sure really want to like emphasize before the year ends is the Kate Daniel series. This is book 9, Magic Binds. The Kate Daniel series by Illona is fantastic. I love it. I immediately on book 1, I absolutely adored it, and we follow Kate Daniels, who is a very interesting person. I don't want to get into her history. She is the definition of like the badass like fantasy heroine that a lot of authors try to write these days. She is actually it, in my opinion. It's urban paranormal fantasy. It takes place in a very interesting future where magic and tech kind of battle for dominance, and for the most part magic has now come back in full force, and a lot of the tech that we used to have doesn't really work anymore. There are moments like surges where tech does work, but for the most part it's magic, and with that a bunch of magical creatures kind of came out of the woodwork. We have a kind of monster of the week, but the first 10 books in the series have like an arc. I'd really like to get through all 10 of these books before the year ends. Really popular series. Illona is so well loved by people in and out of like online bookish spaces. I love the series so much. It's a 5-star series for me. Like no book has really gotten 5 stars for me, but overall love the series. It's 5 stars like overall, but not individually, if that makes sense. Another series I'd like to continue just so I don't forget, because that's happens a lot with fantasy where I start reading a series and then I stop or I don't continue on and I forget everything. Royal Assassin, the second book in the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. I read the first one, which is Assassin's Apprentice, a few months ago. Really enjoyed it. I think I gave it like 4.5. It didn't really reach 5 stars for me, but I did really enjoy the story and the writing and the character work. I really love these high fantasies. I guess maybe this world overall is probably like an epic fantasy. The whole realm of the Elderlings. If you're not familiar, we follow a character named Fitz, and he is the son of the king to be, like the prince that's going to be king next, and he is a bastard, and he is dropped off at like the royal keep out of like shame or duty. His birth father no longer wants to be king or kind of steps down, and Fitz, our main character, is like raised to be an assassin. There's really interesting cool magic. It's epic and there's political stuff. I really enjoy this. A lot of people really respect Robin Hobb. She's like one of, I would say, the current contemporary great fantasy authors, right next to like George R. R. Martin, gets a lot of respect, and Brandon Sanderson. I would say Robin Hobb is also up there as well. A much lighter fantasy that I would like to get to that is also a sequel is Bookshops and Bonedust by Travis Baldree. This is the follow-up. I think it's a prequel to Legends and Lattes. We follow the orc character in the first book. I believe in this one she is still like an orc mercenary, gets hurt, and this bed rest that she's put on is kind of like the beginnings of her wanting to put down the mercenary life. I'm still deciding how I like my cozy fantasies. There's not like a set rule. It's a genre that's very much like audience driven. So what I like, whatever that may be, is not necessarily what everyone else will like when it comes to cozies. I think I don't like big plots in cozies. I do like more meandering and character relationship stuff when it comes to cozies. I don't want a lot of tension or drama or plot, but some other people might like something else. I liked the first one because it was very little plot. It was just good vibes. Hopefully we get that as well here. I have a book that I don't really hear anyone talk about that much. This is Guinevere, The Bear's Heart by Phil Reid. I picked this up on a whim when I used to have Kindle Unlimited. I was really in the mood for historical romance. It's one of the romance genres that I can easily get into because it's so closely related to fantasy. In this series, we follow a character named Guinevere or Gwen, and she is named after like the Gwen from the Arthurian legends. She is your like modern day like woman, but she is visiting these like ruins and she kind of goes back in time. I've never read Outlander, but maybe like Outlander style, and she meets Merlin, like the actual Merlin, and he tells her, "Hey, you're like actually the Gwen, and both of us are going to help King Arthur become the king that he's meant to be." It's also like a romance love story. Not super rompy, but I do like the romance. If there's like one critique I could give that I would like more from the series is seeing the friction that Gwen, a modern day woman, might cause because she's going back to the Dark Ages, and the treatment of women I'm sure is very different. There's a lot of historical elements here that maybe go over my head. I'm not super familiar with this like time period, but I'm having fun. This next book I recently hauled. It's Under the Dragon's Tail by Maureen Jennings. This is the second book in the Murdoch mystery series. This series follows a detective named William Murdoch. Well, this is during the Victorian era and he lives in Toronto and he solves crimes. I was first put on this series because there's a Canadian TV show that's adapted from the series, and the Canadian TV show is actually really like fun and cozy. This one is a little bit more somber, a little bit more serious, but I liked it, and I do think that the author does make some strives to like make this like period accurate. I think I enjoyed the first one. I wasn't sure if I was gonna get physical copies, but I thought why not, and got the second book from Pango. And I believe in this one a abortionist and midwife is murdered. I think there's a lot of like political social commentary in like the victims so far. I think in the first book, a young Catholic girl was murdered, and there's a lot of like anti-Catholic sentiment in the first book. I'm assuming we're going to have some discussions on like bodily autonomy, women's reproductive rights in this book. Another sequel I like to get to is the second book in the Southern Reach trilogy. I believe it's Authority. I actually read Annihilation twice to like really fully get my head around it. It's not hard to read. It's just a very odd book. This is like sci-fi, like odd sci-fi horror. The series revolves around this very like odd biome that kind of appeared out of nowhere. A lot of like government agencies are trying to kind of understand what's going on in this weird biome that it's odd and things don't work the way they supposed to. And in the first book there is a team, an 11th expedition going into this area, and all the other expeditions have failed tragically. Like they either kill each other or they all like get cancer or something. Tragic stuff happens to the teams that go and investigate. In the first book we follow a all female team going to investigate this area. It's very odd, it's very weird, but I really liked it. I got a bind up, though I do think the author is continuing on with more books in this world. The last sequel that I'd like to get to is one of my most anticipated, is The Angel of Indian Lake by Stephen Graham Jones. The first book in the series, My Heart is a Chainsaw. Love, 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 love. I love that book so much. Jade is such a fully realized main character. I absolutely adore her. Can't really get into what this one's about, but in the first book we follow a young teenage girl. Her name is Jade, and she loves slashers like Halloween and stuff. And she is absolutely convinced that her small town is going to get like a big slasher event, and she's even picked out who she thinks is going to be like the final girl. It's a very meta first book anyways, or honestly both books that I've read so far, the first and the second. Stephen Graham Jones's writing is not like dense, but It's a type of writing that demands a lot of attention, a lot of focus. I don't know how else to explain it, but I like it. It just takes some getting used to, at least for me it did. I really enjoyed the first one. I'm hoping that the trilogy ends on like a really good note. I love the first one so much. You have no idea. I think it was Illuma Crate that was going to do special editions, and I thought about getting them, but it was a little pricey. Hopefully I really enjoy this one. I do have two books that I'm currently in the middle of that I'm hoping to finish up because they've been on my currently reading for a while now. The first is Emma by Jane Austen. This one's been waiting to be finished for a hot minute. I'm not that far along. I think I'm only like 20-ish pages, but I did really like Pride and Prejudice. I just haven't been in the mood to pick this up, but maybe if I like kind of, I don't know, find some way to motivate me to read this, I'll finish it. It's always odd to like explain summaries of like really classic books that are like in the canon. But if you're not familiar, this book follows a young woman named Emma who's like absolutely convinced she's going to be a spinster for the rest of her life, but she likes playing matchmaker, and some of her actions kind of lead to some consequences. It should be fun. I've heard that the humor in Pride and Prejudice is also found here too, but like upped a couple notches, which makes me excited. That's like what's really motivating me to read this. I am also in the middle of City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. I was really liking this. However, I've said this in another video. I was filming a vlog that I was really like having such a good time doing. It was like fantasy ABCs. It's pretty self-explanatory, reading a fantasy book for every letter of the alphabet. And I got to City of Brass, so the letter C, when I realized that my footage was just not going to work for the vlog. I had to scrap everything, and it was so demoralizing, and I just put this down because I didn't want to look at it because it reminded me of something that I was having fun doing, and then I stopped. And it's not a vlog that I can restart with the same books or anything. I will probably do the vlog version 2 next year. I should get to this because I was having a good time, and it's not the book's fault that I fucked up some footage, you know? This book starts off in Cairo, and we follow a kind of con woman named Nari, I believe, and she accidentally summons a jinn. Is it a jinn? I think it's a jinn. And she finds out that there is this big magical world out there that she did not know existed, and it's the start of this big epic adventure. I've heard so many great things. So many people love the City of Brass, or this whole I think it's a trilogy. But yeah, again, I was having a good time reading this. It's not the book's fault that like I messed up. So hopefully I can get back into this pretty quickly. The last video I think I uploaded was a horror Halloween reading vlog, and one of the books that was on that TBR that I didn't actually get to was the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. I still want to carry this forward into this month, November. I would like to read more of Grady Hendrix. He has a really fun, campy horror. I know he gets some criticism for how he writes women. I personally never had problems with it. I believe in this book we follow a woman who's kind of, she's a suburban mom, and she's kind of fed up with like the monotonous life that she has. And so she joins like a book club to kind of spice up her life. Alongside that, a new gentleman has moved into the neighborhood, and she thinks he's a vampire hurting people. I believe this book is going to touch on themes on like the lack of empathy or care that people have to lower class families, specifically black families who are not treated well, and they're not given the same amount of care when something bad happens to them until it happens to like the suburbanites who happen to be like mostly white. I believe that's kind of what this book is going to focus on. I also think this takes place in the same city as My Best Friend's Exorcism, which I really enjoyed. In that book we followed like teenagers with like really shitty parents and adults. This book is a more like adult perspective, mother perspective, I suppose. I really like to get through Riley Sager's backlog. This is just a library copy because he's kind of hit and miss for me at this point, as he is for a lot of people. I really liked Home Before Dark, but I did not like Lock Every Door, the pink one. I do generally like his ideas for Lock Every Door. I just did not like the ending. I believe in this book we follow a young woman who went to this like summer camp, and her roommates, her camp like bunkmates, they all went out one night, and she watched them leave, and she didn't really try to stop them, and they all like went missing, disappeared. She was the last one to see them, and people want answers. And I think she goes back to the camp to kind of really uncover what really happened. I love summer camp settings. I think the premise sounds fun. I hope that it hits well. So we'll see. I'm going to open up my laptop because I do want to read some nonfiction this month, but I don't really have a lot on my shelves that I want to read, like right now in the moment. So I looked through my library's like nonfiction section. I'd like to try to read like one nonfiction a month. So the first nonfiction that I found on my library's Libby that seemed kind of interesting. Side note, how do you all choose which nonfictions to read? Because I'm a big mood reader, and not that I'm not in the mood for nonfiction, but I'm also like, I don't know what nonfiction that I'm in the mood for. I've decided that when it comes to choosing nonfictions, I'm going to choose subjects that I'm already kind of interested in slash I don't know about, but I am interested in. So the first one that I found was Bluestockings: A History of the First Movement by Susannah Gibson. This is about these salons that women would gather with men and like debate and like philosophize with. I've I know of salons. We talked about it in like European history class when I was in university. I would like a larger like knowledge of those like environments. They seem really interesting. This was like one of those notable New York Times notable books of 2024. So I found that one on my library's Libby. Let me know if you've heard about it and if you liked it or not. The second nonfiction that I found was Madness, Race, and Insanity in a Jim Crow Asylum by Antonia Hylton. And I believe this follows Black patients who were part of this hospital that was, again, segregated, as the title suggests. And I don't want to read the rest of the synopsis. I'm assuming that there's going to be some pretty intense material in this one for like obvious reasons. Yeah, let me know if you've read this one as well, what you thought about it, if you've heard about it. So that's like nonfiction that I'm looking at. I haven't been picking up a lot of nonfiction, and I can't use the excuse of like university like burned me out because it's been a while since I was in university. But yeah, those are all the books that I wanted to talk about that I'm looking to read this November. Let me know if you've read any of them, if you've enjoyed them, disliked them. Have I put them on your radar by talking about them? I'd like to hear anything you have to say in the comments down below. I will also link my social medias as well as some far more important links down below. Feel free to like, dislike, comment, or subscribe, or do neither. It's all cool with me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.